Hi there everyone. In this episode we're going to be walking through the test number 2 from Cambridge edition number 7. For this episode we were going to be taking a look at reading passage 1, why pagodas don't fall down. And so we know that reading passage 1 is factual, so it's better for us to introduce ourselves with the questions first. And we know the yes, no, no given questions, they follow the order from the text, so yeah. Once we find the answer for the first question, we can just literally we can easily navigate through the answers for the successive questions such as 2, 3, and 4. So only 2 Japanese pagodas. So we have only 2 Japanese pagodas. I'm gonna choose a better highlighter over here. So only 2 Japanese pagodas have collapsed in 1400 years. All right. So a Hanshin earthquake of 1995 destroyed the pagoda at the Toji Temple. So Hanshin earthquake 1995 destroyed the pagoda. Alright, so the other buildings near the Toji pagoda had been built in the last 30 years. So built in 30 years. Other buildings near the Toji pagoda. The builders of pagoda knew how to observe some of the power produced by severe weather conditions. So builders knew that. Alright, so in a land swamped, swept by typhoons and shaken by earthquakes, I'm gonna choose a different highlighter here. How have Japanese tallest and seemingly flimsiest old buildings? Flimsiest means very weak, easily destroyable old buildings. 500 or so wooden pagodas remained standing for centuries. Records show that only two have collapsed during the past 1400 years. So we have the answers we already have the answer for question number 1, that is yes. So there we go. Those that have disappeared were destroyed by a fire. So those that have disappeared were destroyed by a fire as a result of a lightning or civil war. The disastrous Hanshin earthquake in 1995 killed 6,400 people, toppled elevated highways, flattened office blocks, and devastated the port area of Kobe. Yet it left the magnificent 5-story pagoda. It left the magnificent 5-story pagoda at the Toji Temple at nearby Kyoto unscathed, which means undamaged. This is like literally left without any damage, though it leveled a number of buildings in the neighborhood. So the question: the Hanshin earthquake of 1995 destroyed the pagoda at the Toji Temple. So basically, I wouldn't say that it destroyed the pagoda. It doesn't really say that. The disastrous Hanshin earthquake killed 6,400 people, toppled elevated highways, flattened the blocks. However, it left the magnificent 5-story pagoda at the Toji Temple in nearby Kyoto unscathed. So the word unscathed means not damaged. So therefore, the answer is going to be no. Now, if we go for the number 3, the other buildings near the Toji pagoda had been built in the last 30 years. Japanese scholars have been mystified for ages by why these tall, slender buildings are so stable. So they've been mystified for ages why these tall buildings were so stable. It was only 30 years ago. However, you're also left with the question: the other buildings near the Toji pagoda, right? Toji pagoda had been built near in the last 30 years. So we know that the other buildings near the Toji, we know that Hanshin earthquake in 1995 killed 6,400 people, and however, it left the 5-story pagoda at the Toji Temple in nearby Kyoto unscathed, right? However, the question says, the question statement also states that built in the last 30 years. The writer only indicates in here that the buildings near the Toji Temple were leveled. They fell to the ground as a result of the earthquake. So, however, there's no information of when it was built. I would say that that's not given. Number 4, the builders of pagoda knew how to observe some of the power produced by severe conditions. So it was only 30 years ago that the building industry felt confident enough to erect office blocks of steel and reinforced concrete that had been more than a dozen floors, with its special shock absorbers to dampen the effect of sudden sideways movements from an earthquake. The 36-story Kasumigaseki building in central Tokyo. Okay, Japanese first skyscraper was considered a masterpiece in modern engineering when it was built in 1968. All right, there we go. Yet in 826, with only pegs and wedges to keep his wooden structure upright, the master builder Kodobashi had no hesitation in sending his majestic Toji pagoda soaring 55 meters into. All right, so yet in 826, only pegs and wedges to keep his wooden structure upright. So the person had no hesitation sending his majestic the Toji pagoda soaring 55 meters. Soaring 55 meters. It's really necessary to highlight very such kind of details, because it's going to be necessary for us maybe when we face classifications, as we have classification kinds of a question that is called classification, right? So into the sky nearly as a half as the once again something skyscraper, it's really hard to pronounce that Japanese name, built some 11 centuries later. Clearly Japanese carpenters of the day knew a few tricks about following a building. So clearly they knew about they knew a few tricks about allowing a building to sway and settle itself rather than fight nature's forces. But what sort of tricks it? So the thing here, so the question says the builder's pagoda knew how to absorb the power produced by severe weather conditions. So basically, it's not really talking anything here. Let's say the multi story pagoda came to Japan from China. So okay, so the multi-story pagoda came from Japan to Japan from China in 6th century. As China, they were first introduced with Buddhism and were attached to important temples. Chinese built their pagodas in brick or stone. So they built their pagodas in brick and stone with inner staircases, and used them in later centuries mainly as watchtowers. When pagoda reached Japan, however, its architecture was freely adapted to local conditions. They were built less high, so the builders knew how to absorb some of the power produced by severe weather conditions. All right. However, its architecture was freely adapted to local conditions. They were built less high, typically 5 rather than 9 stories, made mainly of wood, and the staircase was dispensed with because the Japanese pagoda did not have any practical use but became more of an art object because of the typhoons that batter. So because of the typhoons that batter Japan in the summer, Japanese builders learned to extend the eaves of buildings that further beyond the walls. So the word batter means to hit powerfully. So actually the word here the word batter means powerfully. So therefore they knew how to observe, meaning severe weather conditions. Also severe weather conditions means that are typhoons, right? So typhoons, so storms with powerful rain and winds, right? And the word batter gives us a synonym for, where is it? Batter means like, it gives us synonyms for the word. It doesn't really give a synonym here, I guess, but I think the word batter means to hit very powerfully, and therefore, so the builders of pagoda knew how to absorb some of the power. Means Japanese builders learned to extend the eaves of building further beyond the walls. This prevents rainwater gushing down the walls. Pagodas in China and Korea have nothing like the overhang that is found in pagodas in Japan. So basically, the answer for that is going to be yes. So that means knew how to absorb some of the power produced. So once again, because the typhoons that batter Japan in the summer, Japanese builders learned to extend the weaves. So they learned. So because of that, because of the severe weather conditions, Japanese builders learned to extend the eaves of the buildings for that further beyond the walls. And pagodas in China and Korea have nothing like the overhang that is found in pagodas in Japan. So we're gonna underline that as well. Highlight it. So now we will go for the classification. Easy interior to the easy interior access to top. So we're gonna take I guess different color once again. Tiles and eaves. Uses an observation post. We remember that an observation post was a watchtower. It was somewhere right here. There you go. Sizes of eaves up to half the width of the building. Original religious purpose. Floors fitting loosely over each other. All right, so easy interior access to the top. So we remember that as China, they were first introduced in Buddhism. Chinese built their pagodas in brick or stone with inner staircases used them in later centuries mainly as watchtowers. So easy. I'm gonna add another note here. So I'm just gonna give it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. Take that make it a little bit bigger. And number 5 obviously is gonna be only Chinese pagodas, because easy interior access to top. You can see that inner staircases use them in later mainly as watchtowers. So that basically means that the Chinese pagodas have staircases which only allow easy interior access to the top, so that it was easy to reach the top to use the pagoda as a watchtower. Maybe it could be while they use it for kind of civil war when they back in history happened. So that's the answer B. So now if we go for the number 6, tiles on eaves, right? So tiles on eaves, we remember that we remember after this one we have, however, its architecture. We know that in Japan we have when the pagoda reached Japan, however, its architecture was freely adapted to local conditions. They were built less high, typically 5 rather than 9 stories, made mainly of wood, and the staircase was dispensed with it because of the Japanese pagoda did not have any practical use but became more of an art object. So basically, I'm just gonna, I remember that it was somewhere around here, I guess. No, or just let's repeat the question one more time. Tiles on eaves. So the roof of a Japanese temple building can be made to overhang the sides of the structure by 50. All right, so the roof of a Japanese building can it already gives us a sign, right? So once again, I'm gonna take that. So Japanese temple building can be made to overhang the sides of the structure by 50% or more of the building's overall width. For the same reason, the builders of Japanese pagoda seem to have further increased their weight by choosing to cover these extended eaves not with the porcelain tiles of many Chinese pagodas, but with much heavier earthenware tiles. So basically, I believe that so tiles on eaves, it could be A. So 6 is going to be A, because it's not only Japan. You can see that the roof of Japanese temple building can be made to overhang the sides of the structure by 50% or more of the building's overall width. And for the same reasons, which means China and Japan, the builders of Japanese pagodas seem to have further increased their weight by choosing to cover these extended eaves not with the porcelain tiles of many Chinese pagodas, but with much more heavier ones. All right, so that's the answer for us. So, and then we have uses an observation post. We remember that the Chinese built their pagodas, they were, observation post. It was somewhere right here. There we go. Later used mainly as watchtowers. So that's 100%. 7 is going to be 100% as B. So we're going to go for the 8 as well. Size of eaves up to half the width of the building. Half the width of the building. All right. So size of eaves. We also remember that the roof of a Japanese temple building, it was something like that. The roof of a Japanese temple building can be made to overhang the side of the structure by 50% or more of the building's overall width. So that's the answer for that is going to be 8 is going to be C, which is only Japanese. Then we have number 9, original religious purpose. We also remember the multi-story pagoda came to Japan from China in the 6th century, as in China they were first introduced with Buddhism, right? So Buddhism is a religion and were attached to important temples. So basically the word attached to important temples, and we have the word Buddhism, which is pretty much applies to religious things. So that I believe the original purpose was that not only did it have, I mean, multi-story pagoda came to Japan from China in 6th century, as in China they were first introduced. So original purpose means first introduced. Alright, so they were first introduced with Buddhism and were attached to important temples. The Chinese built their pagodas in brick or stone with inner staircases. However, when it reached Japan, its architecture was freely adapted to local conditions. They were built less high, and typically 5 rather than 9 stories. So China had 9 and Japan had 5. So basically the answer is going to be A. However, we're left with the 10th. Floors fitting loosely over each other. For that we have to read a little bit more. But this does not totally explain the great resilience of Japanese pagodas. Is the answer that, like a tall pine tree, the Japanese pagoda with its massive trunk-like central pillar known as shin bashira simply flexes, and so it simply flexes and sways during a typhoon or earthquake? For centuries, many thought so, but the answer is not so simple, because the startling thing is that the shin bashira actually carries no load at all. So we remember. No, actually that's not the answer. I'm sorry for that. In fact, in some pagoda designs, it does not even rest on the ground, but it felt like that. I just found the word startling thing is that the shin bashira and stuff like that. Floors fitting loosely over each other. I guess it was the first one, right? It was somewhere right here. No. All right. So I don't really think so. It was here, but it was floors fitting loosely over each other. We gotta read more. But it's suspended from the. In fact, some hanging loosely down through the middle of the building. The weight of the building is supported entirely by 12 outer and 4 inner columns. So the word. Alright, so we can see. No, we cannot see that. What is the role of shin bashira, the central pillar? The best way to understand the shin bashira role is to watch the video made by Shuzo Ishida, a structural engineer at Kyoto Institute of Technology. Mr. Ishida, known to his students as Professor Pagoda, because of his passion to understand the pagoda, has built a series of models and tested them on a shake table in his laboratory. In short, shin bashira was acting like an enormous stationary pendulum. The ancient craftsman, apparently without the assistance of very advanced mathematics, seems to grasp the principles that were so ancient. Where was it? So ancient craftsmen, apparently without the assistance of very advanced mathematics, they seem to understand the principles that were more than 1,000 years earlier implied in the construction of Japan's first skyscrapers. What those early craftsmen had found by trial and error was that under a pressure, pagoda lose a stack of floors and could be made to slither to and fro independent of one another. Viewed from side, the pagoda seemed to be doing a snake dance, with each consecutive floor moving the opposite direction to its neighbors above and below. The shin bashira running up through a hole in the center of the building constrained individual story from moving too far, because after moving a certain distance they banged into it, transmitting energy away from the column. So it was under pressure. A pagoda's loose stack of floors could be made to slither to and fro. This means that the only in a Japanese pagodas we can we find floors not actually we can find the floors not actually connected but placed on top of each other. So the word once again, they slither to and fro independent of one another. So basically, so the word slither means, you know, stacked, which means on top of another. So yeah, that's pretty much basically means only Japanese. So it's going to be C for us. Now we're going to go below. In Japanese pagoda, the shin bashira. Alright, so 11, once again, we read about the shin bashira. Okay, so in Japanese pagoda, shin bashira, what did the shin bashira do? Did it bear the full weight of the tall building? Not really, because if you remember from the context, the weight of the building is supported entirely by 12 outer and okay. There was one thing under pressure. It said it's something like it had no. In short, the Shimbashira was acting like an enormous session printed the ancient craftsmen, blah blah blah. What those early craftsmen had found by trial and error was that under pressure, pagodas lose track. Pagoda seemed to doing a snake dive with each consecutive force. The Shimbashira running up through a hole in the center of the building, constrained individual stories from moving far to because of the movement, blah blah blah. They banged into it, transmitting energy. Another strange feature of the Japanese pagoda is that because of the building tapers, with each successive floor plan being smaller than one below, one of the vertical pillars that carry the weight of the building is connected to its corresponding pillar above. That is something that is also that gives us the answer for this one. Floors fitting loosely over each other. Over each other means corresponding pillar above. In other words, a 5-story pagoda contains not even one pillar that travels right up through the building to carry the structural loads from the top to the bottom. Alright, so more surprising is that the fact that the individual stories of a Japanese pagoda, unlike their counterparts elsewhere, are not actually connected to each other. They're simply stacked on top of one another. It's getting a little bit. It's getting a little bit tensing to this tongue muscles to pronounce that correctly. Interestingly, such a design would not be permitted under current Japanese buildings and regulations. So I would definitely, yes, it's still, however, the location also, we can see that the location for the answer is over here. So stacked one on top of one another like a pile of hats. So basically, yeah. However, in Japanese pagoda, the shin bashira, we remember it referred something like a trunk-like tree. Did it? Trunk-like tree. Remember, it was somewhere. I guess that. All right, well, there we go. It's a massive trunk-like tree. Central as shin bashira simply flexes and sways during a typhoon or earthquake. For centuries, many thought so, but the answer is not so, because there you go. The startling thing is that the shin bashira actually carries no load at all. So it can be concluded that A and B are not correct. Bears the full weight of the building. Actually, it actually has no basically weight. So we're gonna remove that for ourselves. I'm gonna remove that. Bends under pressure like a tree. No, it bends and flexes. Connects the floor with the foundations. Does it? Not really. Stops the floor from moving too far. I'm gonna remove that as well. Stops the floor from moving too far. I would say that so you can see that hanging loosely down through the middle of the building, the weight of the building is supported entirely with 12 outer and 4 columns. Because the starting thing is that Victory actually carries no load at all. In fact, some pagodas it does not even rest on the ground, but is suspended from the top of the pagoda. Right. So the role of the shin bashira is centripetal. The best way to understand. Okay, so this stops the floor moving too far, I guess, right? So foundation is a construction. We remember. So I guess that I guess that's the D is definitely. I would definitely choose option D as the answer for us, because it definitely is not talking anything related to all these three options. Shuzo Ishida performs experiments in order to what? So prefers a pagoda. So his passion to understand pagoda has built a series of models and tested them on a shake table, right? So because of his passion to understand pagoda, has built a series of models and tested them on a shake table on his laboratory. So the purpose of the experiment is to understand the pagoda. So the possible answers are understand ancient mathematics, because also because it also says that the early craftsmen, the ancient early craftsmen without the assistance of very advanced mathematics. So options, improve skyscraper design? Not really. No, it's not talking about anything about skyscrapers. Be able to build new pagodas? Is it? Not really as well. So we remove that as well. Learn about the dynamics of pagoda. I would say that okay, to understand ancient mathematics, but however, it says that ancient craftsmen apparently without the assistance of very advanced mathematics, it seemed to grasp the principle that were more often 1,000 years later applied in the construction of Japan's first skyscraper. Understand ancient mathematics. This means there were no ancient mathematics. So to understand here, we actually there was no ancient mathematics. There were ancient builders that oops, I'm gonna remove that. There were ancient builders that refer to something that is some kind of a mathematics we don't really know. So they learned about the dynamics. So that's 100% the answer, because once again, he built series of models. I'm gonna choose yellow on a shake table in his laboratory. So that's pretty much a very clear answer. So the only purpose of the experiments was to understand the pagoda. So it was to understand the pagoda. We already know that is definitely the answer. Stories of a Japanese pagoda are okay. We remember that linked only by wood. No, it wasn't linked by wood. I'm gonna remove that. Fitted loosely on top of each other. If you remember that, I'm gonna choose that as an option for us, because joined by special weights, absolutely not. Fastened only by the central pillar. Is it? Okay, we had a similar answer for that. If you remember, we had it hanging loosely down through the middle of the building. All right. So we also had stacked on top of it, one on top of another, like a pile of hats. Interestingly, such a design would not be permitted under current Japanese building regulations. So the shin bashira running up through a hole in the central of the building constrained individual stories from moving too far, because after moving a certain distance they banked into it. All right. Okay. So I basically believe that they were fitted loosely on top of each other. So paragraph 6 somewhere right here. Paragraph 6 somewhere here. The shin machine running up through the hole in the central, right? Certain things because shin bashira actually carries no load at all. Right. So was there anything on top? We don't really. So we can find the Japanese pagoda with massive trunk, blah blah blah. For centuries, many thought so, but the answer is not so simple, because the starting thing is that the shin bashira actually carries no load. In fact, with hanging loosely, the weight of the what is roll. Shin bashira running up through a hole. Okay. So basically, I remember that it was somewhere right here. We just literally misguided ourselves. Fastened only by central pillar. I guess it was somewhere right here, the central pillar, right? I mean, there you go, the center pillar. The best way to understand. So let me just actually put it as a yellow. The best way to understand shin bashira is to watch a video made by Shuzo Uchida. So I basically believe that I remember that they are simply, you know, it says that they're not connected to each other, but they're simply stacked on top of another like a pile of hats. So that's basically the answer, I would say. So yeah, there you go, guys. We already answered all of the passage one questions from all the way question number 1 to 13. So however, we had some few complications here to understand the vocabularies that are mentioned in this passage. They were quite complicated to understand, however. Yeah, anyways, in the follow-up video, we will go through the passage number 2 from the test 2, obviously. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment down below, and obviously, and very soon I'm going to be linking my own platform in the comment section below the video, so you can access the vocabularies collected from each series and from each reading passage that we cover. So if you find this really helpful, thank you very much for watching. Well, you can obviously leave a like and subscribe. Thank you very much.